Hello guys, welcome back to Owl003. The best remote viewing you're ever going to see is right here in Owl003. And today, and if you guys want to support the channel, please hit the hyperlink at buymeacoffee.com, which is in the description of the channel. Please like, subscribe, and share all the content if you like what I'm doing. And let's talk about what we're talking about today, which is telepathic overlay. This is another highly overused term in remote viewing. So let me just give you a general, what you're going to see a lot, we've seen a lot in remote viewing is, you will very rarely, almost never, find a remote viewer who has remote viewed something without verifiable feedback and said to people that's looking at their session and say, that's telepathic overlay. I think I telepathically overlaid that information from my tasker. You're never going to see that. Or if you do, it's probably very rare. But what you will see a lot of is other remote viewers looking at other remote viewing sessions and say, that's telepathic overlay. So, first, I've had telepathic overlay like actively that I am aware of one time. That comes to mind. If it happened other times, I don't know. But let me describe the situation. So I'm still a student at this point, but I'm using a monitor and I'm doing a session, and the target is a precognitive doom and gloom event. The person was from like the European area, and they had some concern that this is back when like the war was just starting or something. I can't remember, but anyway, they had some concern that there was going to be like a end of the world event. Okay. So I go into the target and I'm kind of describing what's there, and for whatever reason, this guy had gotten in his mind that this event is going to come to fruition. I don't know if it was from another session that they did or whatever. But I kind of remote viewed, and they didn't seem satisfied. So they kept pushing in the monitor session to where I started describing what this person has in their mind. Okay, that's the one time. And once I found out what the feedback was, and it didn't end up coming true, obviously, but once I found out what the feedback was, I was so annoyed because, to me, I knew in that moment that I was being coerced into this probability, right? Now, typically, a good monitor, this is not even an issue really, but 99% of the time I do solo sessions, so I'm by myself. It's just me in the room. But we don't know for certain what the connection is between that and that. I mean, remote viewing, it proves that distance, is not a binding factor, but in this situation, the monitor was actively kind of coercing me into this. And that's the only time I can recall that happening. Not to say that it doesn't, because it does. But, okay, so here's what we need to consider now. Now, throughout the years, myself and many others have remote viewed aliens, UFOs, woo-woo targets, cryptids, Mothman, another insect being, angels, miracle events. So, meaning, and most of them have, they all pretty much that I've done have some element of reality, meaning that I was put in a place and I was supposed to just remote view what's there. Now, I did a big project recently with Akhenaten and basically Akhenaten and what happened to him. Now, the tasker put in the tasking. The viewer should, because he had channeling sessions, but he put in the tasking, should disregard anything other than what actually happened here. This person just wanted to get down to the truth. This is a project where channeling and remote viewing kind of worked in cohesive hand in hand to tether this moment back in time. It was very innovative, very clever, and it worked really well. And my suspicion would be people could remote view that all they want, live long day, and they're going to get the same results. So, but anyway, my point is there's people that come at them and say this is telepathic overlay. Okay, Now, this situation didn't involve aliens. This is all about uh, ancient history, and but it was all humans, right? Um, but meanwhile, it's just one example where this person's getting, even though he did everything scientifically as he could possibly do, these same people that would attack him are people that would do their own alien sessions, their own unverifiable sessions, and would say, no, this is what's there. Uh-huh. So again, I can't. There is a phenomenon called telepathic overlay. I am not trained to remote view somebody's idea of something. My training is to go to a place and remote view what's there at that moment in time. Um, so I guess my point being is, if you're going to say that situation with Akhenaten was telepathic overlay, then you better all of these are. I mean, it could be telepath. It's no less likely. Okay, and other targets that others have done that. Others have done, like the Death of the Dollar, Bob Lazar, Sasquatch, Roswell, the Rapture. That's all telepathic overlay. Okay. Oh, it's no less telepathic overlay than anything else. Okay, because you can't. There's no. There's no guidepost that says, okay, now we're going into imagination. There's none of that. It's unverifiable and what's verifiable. So unless somebody's monitoring you and actively taking a position of, or there's something really peculiar in the tasking, we have to consider that everything without without a totally verifiable feedback is either telepathic overlay or it's not. But I guess my point is, what you're going to see is, you see these remote viewers going after telepathic overlay people that have done sessions. That's not something to do with the project. That's jealousy because they didn't get involved, or because it's so good and it's innovative, whatever. Okay? But you can't remote view this shit and then call somebody out as telepathic overlay. I'm trying not to call people stupid, but it's hard for me not to call people stupid when they say stupid things and do stupid things. But I'm trying to be nice. So what I'm saying is again, you very rarely you'll see groups remote viewing doing big debriefs and aliens and all this crap that they can't verify, and they'll all be, we hit it out of the park and give everybody high fives and stuff, and the very next breath they will call out somebody else. Oh, that's all telepathic overlay. That's all. Why? Because they're jealous. Nothing I could figure, but so as a newbie, understand that you can't henpick telepathic overlay when there's unverifiable components to it. Okay, especially when the tasker goes out of their way to remote view just what's there. Okay, you're really kind of giving them a disservice, or at least play ball evenly. I mean, come on, guys. But same thing. When I did the psychic penetration target or project, my assumptions going into the task, I assume there's something. Okay, but I have no idea what could be employed to pick up a psychic kind of a signal. I assume technology was involved, but if I were to put something in my mind, my assessment would have been like they're maybe laying out a grid on a property, and when like something passes it, maybe they could pick it up like a radar. That would have been my best estimate, because a lot of times the tasker they'll get this stuff and they don't really know what to expect, and a lot of times it's a surprise to them. But my point is I didn't know what they would come up with, and yet and I gave them an out in the tasking. I said, if it doesn't exist or it's not there, everybody just remote view the Statue of Liberty. That's it. Everybody honed in on the exact same thing. Okay. The same piece of technology, this rounded spherical thing. So my point is, you know, you can't. I mean, they're going to do this, but you have constantly people that will go out and say, "Well, that's telepathic overlay because the data's too good," or whatever the case is. That's fine, but all your shit's telepathic overlay too, because that's how that works. You don't decide when it's telepathic. It's not like I could say, "Well, I'm a better viewer, so I don't I don't pick up." It doesn't. That's not how it works, guys. Okay. So if you have a tasker that's following all the protocols or going out of their way to, okay, say, look, I don't know what this is. I don't, I take my assumptions, take all the assumptions out of it in the tasking, and just tell me what's there, and they all come up with the same thing. I mean, to me, that's probably not telepathic overlay, especially when aliens and stuff aren't involved. Okay, what it is, it's innovation, and it's scary to people that aren't doing much in the remote viewing field, I guess. So, so be careful with your verbiage, guys, because more times than not, when you hear this, it's usually is just an attack against another group doing a project who was jealous they weren't involved, or were mad because it was such a success, or because that's how it is. Unfortunately, that's how these people are. So I've done a lot of these targets. This gray, these Mothman. I've done all kinds of these things. Is any of it telepathic overlay? I don't know, but it's no more or less telepathic overlay than anything else. Than the Bob Lazar, the Roswell, the Rapture, the Death of the Dollar. That's all telepathic overlay. Especially the Death of the Dollar. If you're a group remote viewing the Death of the Dollar and you're heavily vested in the dollar dying, I wouldn't put much into those sessions, because that's a contaminated project, obviously. But anyway, from my experience, double blind, single blind, if I'm working alone, I don't tell much of the difference. I'm going to give you what's there. And if what's there is BS, typically it'll kind of just fall apart. Now, there has been things where they've done projects where they create this person or this target or whatever, and people remote view that target in lieu of nothing being there. So what I'm saying, though, is if it's clear in the tasking, in the intention, and it's getting the results, and again, always remote view. I always welcome anybody. Before you start calling people telepathic overlay and stuff like that, when you're doing the same kind of thing, you better remote view yourself or send somebody else there, because you're just making an ass out of yourself, and we get plenty of that. So people, a lot of this, that don't really know what they're talking about. So much of that. The reason why I am the way I am, a lot of it is because I am confident. I don't sit here and tell you things I don't know. I tell you what I am confident in knowing. So, and again, I'm not getting anything out of this, really. I'm just trying to tell you from my perspective. So, use discernment, and quit attacking other viewers, guys. If you're hitting these things, don't be jelly bellies. Be better. We need better around here. Everybody's jealous of what everybody else is doing. It's just grow up, guys. Anyway, when it comes to remote viewing, do use discernment. Do your homework every step of the way. Because there's a lot of idiots out there. Sorry, it's just true. So, telepathic overlay, it's an overused terminology, and it's become an attack tactic in which other remote viewers kind of attack other projects and stuff. So, just something to consider. Like, subscribe, and share the content. Please buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com if you like, and the link, and we'll catch you next time. On Owl 003.